Hi, sis. All right. Mm-mm-mm. God is good all the time, and all the time He is good. Okay. I'm not gonna try to hold y'all too long, but I have some stuff to say. Like God is doing a lot in this season. So, before we get started, I just want to give Him, Yahuwah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because people doing a lot nowadays. I want to be very clear with the God that I worship. My king, right, is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his name is Yahuwah, right? And so I want to give him all honor, glory, and praise. Thank you for Yahusha, your son, for the Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, okay, that is pouring out on your people right now. There's so much going on. So, sis, let's get started. I'm Jocelyn. This is Lover Girls for Christ Ministries. And, we just being obedient. I don't be on here all the time, but when I come on here, he definitely gave me something to say. And so I was just in my Bible before I got in here, and he definitely lit a little fire. I mean, y'all should see, my mom calls it chicken scratch when you write like cursive, but it's like it's not even like legible for real. I couldn't even write fast enough because I'm like, Lord, what? I have a question mark in my Bible. Like, what are you saying? Like, what does this even mean? Like what did is he dumb? Is he stupid? Right? And I was talking about Nebuchadnezzar. So let's get started. Let's calm down. Today's message, witness, whatever you want to call it. It's called Stand Firm in the Furnace, because y'all's plan will prevail. All right. It comes from the Hebrew 228 Aza, which means to kindle, to heat, to be hot. And it's only used 3 times in the Daniel 3, the chapter. Again, there's so many words in that biblical concordance. I encourage you to get one, have one physically, have your, website bookmark so you can go see, because God does speak to a lot of us through numbers, and we're not doing nothing demonic, nothing, none of that. But He does speak to us through numbers. He is the God of creation. He created everything. The devil can steal, he could kill, he could destroy. He didn't create numbers. Okay, he did not create meaning behind numbers. He didn't do nothing. He's really nobody. He's a big nobody. So um we'll keep going. It's like 12 o'clock in the morning. It's Sunday night. Well, it's Monday morning. But let's go ahead and get started. So I want to first tell you what happened. Right? I gotta give y'all the tea of what happened, of why I even saw this number and why I'm in my Bible reading Daniel on this day. But and then we're gonna jump straight into what he's saying, because this is not like a teaching. I think the last message had some more like, this is the biblical number, and like it was more teaching. He lets me teach sometimes, but this is just straight up like wisdom, encouragement, remembrance, instructions. Okay, so I was at the doctor. Okay, I was at the doctor recently, and at the doctor, I always pay attention to, like, again, the numbers that stick out to me. I do look at the little room number, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm always gonna look. So I went to room 228. Y'all, it was I don't know, the cold is starting to come in. It's a little chilly. So these buildings and these whoever is managing the building, they be turning the heat on. But it was hot. Yo, I mean, like I'm sweating. I mean, I had to stop the appointment and be like, I feel like I'm about to pass out right now. Like I need like a fan, or and I'm like, I'm so sorry because this is like not convenient. And like there's a lot of people in the lobby, and like you already had to wait for the room to be open because there's a shortage of workers. And I get all that, but I'm like, I can't finish the appointment in this room. It's so hot. I'm like, can we open the door? Like what we finna do? And so thankfully the lady found a fan that was put up in like the little I want to call it a dresser. It's not in the cabinet. So the lady found the fan and she put it on, and my husband's there. He put it on me and everything. So crisis averted. Do you know what I'm saying? But it was so hot. And I walked out. I didn't think nothing else of it, right? Now it's later in the afternoon. I'm like, what did 228 mean? And then I see that it means heat and hot, and not just heat hot, but it was a word to express how hot the furnace was in the book of Daniel. Like Nebuchadnezzar was throwing people in. You know what I'm saying? Like if they weren't listening to him, like, and I thought, and I just had to chuckle because I'm like, I really felt it was like I really was about to pass out from the heat, and so I was like, okay, Lord, I know that's prophetic. I know you're trying to tell me something, so let me lock in, and and I did, and so I know for many of us who are on the prophetic timeline, I can't speak to other people. I'm not in their body. I'm not living their experience. But many of us in the prophetic timeline, we are hearing a lot of what God's about to do, right? A lot of the breakthrough coming, a lot of, and and don't get me wrong, it's not like repetitive. It's not like, oh well, God, you've been saying that forever. No, he tell what he said. He said, I'm never going to do something and not tell my prophets, not tell my people, not tell those who rock with me. So he gives us advance notice, and his time is not our time. So he could tell you something 2 years ago, talking about it's about to be here. And I'm like, Lord, that was 2 years ago. Okay, but that's but a thousand days for a year, right? Or what do you say? A day is like 1,000 years. So if I say soon, my soon and your soon could be different. Someone mentioned that today, that I was watching. But regardless, a lot of us has been hearing a lot of different things, and we know what's coming. We know that judgment's here, right? Hence the fire, the furnace. Not for us, different, right? There's two sides to this coin. Like this timeline is happening. There's a word I'm looking for. Like it's in tandem. Like when one thing's happening for the people to God, in the same time period, something else is happening for the people who are not with God. And it's completely different experience with almost the same tool, right? Like fire. Fire is like it's refining some and it's burning others up. You feel me? So all that to say, there's a lot going on in this time period. The hourglass, the time ticking, like there's been so many words that have led up to this moment. Um, and yet for many of us, it's like if anything, the heat is on now more than it has been in a lot of the time. Like I don't know about y'all, but the heat is on now. The testing of faith is happening now. All right, God, if you don't do it, I don't know who's going to do it. It's happening now. And it's always happened. We always know that we're going through multiple tests that we don't know we're taking, some tests that we do know, but this is a test where you're taking it. You're sitting at the desk with a pen and paper and you don't know the answers, but you're sitting there and you're waiting on the voice of God and you're waiting to know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I'll keep going. So stand firm in the furnace because y'all's plan will prevail. Holy Spirit, take over my mouth and my words. So I don't have anything planned. I don't have anything prepared. I just have the notes that I took from the book of Daniel, or from the first 3 chapters. And so I just want to point out a couple things because it might relate to the Nebuchadnezzar in your life, to the Pharaoh spirit that's still going, like to the Jezebel that's still trying. Like I that's a whole different thing, right? But just learning how we are to operate and understanding how they operate, because again, we can have as many words as we want to have, we can pray about the same thing 1,000 million times, but ultimately there's something about walking this out. You have to walk it out. And the thing is, as I look at this, I look at what happened to, and I want to use their Hebrew names because okay, like we don't like Babylon, right? So Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. As we look at them being in Babylon, that experience is our experience. And although ours is a spiritual Babylon, it's still Babylon. We still set apart in a world that's not following God, following Yahuwah. And so as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about how, like, Yah sees the whole timeline. He knows everything that's going to happen. He knows our breakthrough is near. So even like to the point where before Daniel even interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream, he knows what's going to happen to the other three. He knows what Daniel's test was, the dream interpretation. Because if you notice, Daniel wasn't in the fire with the other three, and he knew what the other three's test was. You know what I'm saying? So the whole time he already knows he's going to get the glory. He knows he knows what the test is. He knows that they're going to have to stand on the test. And then he knows that there's promotion that comes after the test. And either way, they got to walk through it. Even though there was already victory, they had to sit here and go through hard things. Like even for Daniel, before you interpreted that dream, yo, you done, and did y'all, there's so much. I'm reading this over again. The Daniel fast was not no 10-day fast. They had to eat that way for he chose to eat that way for 3 years. That was 3 years of preparation that he didn't deny God. It wasn't just 10 days. That's number one, right? So you already walking into this test. The minute you got called, when the new kingdom came, when Babylon took over and sieged like Judah, it was a wrap. You started being tested the minute the enemy came in and selected you as the one to be tested with, the one to be played with, the one that God favors. It was already done then. The test already started, but there's layers to it. Do you know what I'm saying? Even as Daniel was interpreting the dream, like he finds out about the decree. Like, so we all gonna die? Give me a second. Let me talk to my God. So I just wanted to point those things out. Also noticing how Nebuchadnezzar wants to have like selective memory, selective understanding, selective worship. If you notice, he's mad that no one can interpret his dream in chapter 2, right? Goes all the way to the end, ready to kill everybody off. Everybody. And he's like, I know that you sorcerers, you wizards, you magicians, y'all all would have got together. And I can give you the chapter. Give me a second. I mean, I encourage you to read it yourself, but still. This is Daniel 2 and 9. I want to say 9 through 10. And he's like, I know the reason I'm not telling you what my dream is I don't want your fake interpretations. I don't want you prophesying out your own mouth. I know that you would have got together with all the magicians and all the wizards, and y'all would have all created a story to tell me. I want to know the truth, said Nebuchadnezzar, which is why I would just kill y'all all at this point. Right? So Daniel had to come in, and he came together with the three and prayed for understanding. And in that moment, Nebuchadnezzar, at the end of chapter 2, he's over here talking like, wow, like Daniel, your God is the God of all. What he said in chapter 247, the king answered Daniel and said, most certainly your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and the revealer of mysteries. That sounds like acknowledgement of the God of Judah, right? Where these people came from. Daniel, sorry, I'm going to forget the names every time. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They all came from the same kingdom. They served the same God. And you're acknowledging that God of the kingdom that you took over, that he allowed you to siege, is the God of all gods. You acknowledge it right there. And you acknowledge in the dream that the kingdom that represented you, the gold kingdom, all that fell in the statue. And yet we turn to chapter 3, and it doesn't tell us how much time passes, but I can't imagine as much. And you erect a statue after you just learned the interpretation of your statue dream? Okay. And then you make everybody bow to you and worship you or go to the fire? Okay. And then these same people, because the monitoring spirits that came against the three, talking about, wait, but the ones that you let be with Daniel, because at the end of the chapter 2, Daniel requested, Daniel chapter 2, verse 49, Daniel requested that the king, that all his people, all three of the other people, be also set over the affairs of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. So he had a higher position, but he brought those people up. He protected his own, right? I'm going to get back to that portion. He protected his own. So of these guys. So when the people came and said, okay, but Shadrach, Meshach, I don't want to use those names, but right, that's the one we know of. So when the other three guys won't bow down to you, but those are Daniel's people. They all from the kingdom of Judah. Why are you getting furious? Because then you acknowledge that the God they serve is the God of all gods, the king of all kings? Didn't you get down on your face, Nebuchadnezzar, as if you understood the God you were coming up against? And I really believe, y'all, that this is what happens to our enemies, which are really God's enemies. I really believe this is what's happening in the sickness and the mind of those who have given their life to the devil. I really believe this is what happens in monitoring spirits, because in one breath you can praise God, and another breath you forget who he is. And you forget who he is. The evidence of that is that you persecute his people. How are you bowing down in one chapter and then throwing people in furnaces? Okay. So that was my question to the Lord. I'm like, how, what didn't he, and now he's right. So that part, I also wanted to mention a couple other things that the Lord pointed out to me before I get to like what I really believe that he told me in this season, right? Um, so notice in chapter 3 that as they're preparing, like, so they're turning the furnace up 7 times hotter. And I think that's what a lot of us are feeling in the spirit too, because we know there's breakthrough. We know there's victory. We know we have one, like all of that. We know that. We believe that, we have faith in that, and we trust that. But y'all, the fire is hot. What we see with our eyes is hot. It's not just hot, it's 7 times hotter than things we've been through before. It's too hot to have been, it's too hot to be this hot with how far we've come. You feel me? With all that we've put in, with all that God has taught us, with all the maturing, with all the sharpening, what's the word? What the pruning, with all the pruning, it's too hot to not have built up thick enough skin for this. So it's getting hot. You know what I'm saying? And so he turns the furnace up 7 times hotter. And the very people who are delivering these 3 men, these 3 Judean men up to the furnace, they die outside they can't even take the heat they're delivering us through. I just gotta sit with there. They cannot even take the heat they're delivering us through. You're trying to deliver me up to my death and you die in the process. What does that sound like? The last 18 words I done heard from people I know who are speaking of the Spirit of God. That's you following your own pit. That's you following the devil right on to hell. Because you're trying to kill me and I'm bound up in everything. And you can't, how am I, so are you telling me that I'm walking, did I walk into the fire willingly? Because you died on the way out. You died on the outside of the crib. You couldn't even get into the club. You feel me? Like you really died on the way in. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me because you can't take the very heat that you are putting me through. You know, but that's that part. That's that part. So those are a couple things, you know, like, and that's, I'm hyped because God is just like, I'm like, that's like you saying it as plainly as that you cannot take the heat. They couldn't take it. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's important to highlight what, okay, Lord, help me. Okay. I think it's important to highlight the test here. And the test wasn't, it wasn't withstanding the heat. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. The test was not withstanding the heat. The test was deciding to walk into that furnace willingly before they bowed down to another God. There was, if God save me, if he don't save me. Y'all, if he come through, if he don't come through. Can we be very real? I want you to put within your, in your own home, in your own heart, whatever your situation is. If the bills get paid, if they don't get paid. If the marriage work, if it don't work. If the kids well, if they not well. Like whatever it is. Because we know what our purpose and destiny is what's being attacked. And every season is different. So put whatever situation you going through, because God really don't care. He loves us. He cares. But he don't care about your little tiny human situation. He just really, you cannot convince him that he does. It's so much bigger than that. Are you willing to willingly walk into the fire than to serve God, than to serve these other little gods. Do you prefer to be comfortable or to be on my side? Do you have faith? And this is the thing. We want to say, oh yeah, I have faith, but it's always I have faith that he works it out. I have faith that he's gonna fix it. What if he don't? Do you still have, because that's what they walked in with. Do I need to read it? Do I need to read it? Daniel chapter 3, and let's start with verse 17. If it be so, our God who we serve is able to rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods or worship a golden image that you have set up. And I think that when we talk about faith, especially when it's getting hot, it's like, okay, God, I'm gonna do it because I believe you're gonna get me through it. I'm gonna do it because I know your character is good. I'm gonna do it because Romans 8 and 28. I'm gonna do it because Jeremiah 29 and 11. I'm gonna do it because you said in Joshua 1 and 9 to be afraid of nothing. I'm gonna do it because I know you'll save me. But I think that there's a level of faith that we got to get to. Where what if I'm the martyr? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like we don't want to talk about that. I don't particularly want to talk that personally. My faith isn't that he's going to work it out, right? Personally for me. But I think the reality and the truth is, faith is not the substance of things that we see. If you don't change my situation, I still ain't going to serve nobody else. And I do believe your character will save me. I do. I don't believe you actually want harm for me. But I have to have the boldness to really be okay if you don't save the situation the way I want you to save it. If you don't fix it the way I want you to fix it. If it don't end like a fairy tale. If we don't get the second part of Job after he went through what he went through and everything was restored times 800 billion. That's the faith. So I think the test here, y'all, is not can you withstand the heat? It's are you willing to walk into the fire? Whether or not I save you, whether or not you burn to death, are you willing to say, I don't care what the consequence is? I'm not going to bow down to you. I don't serve you, Mammon. I don't serve you, Jezebel. I don't serve you, ancestors. I don't serve you, world perspective. I don't serve you, anything else. I'm gonna do it the way God tells me to do it, and I'm willing to walk into the fire. So even if y'all die trying to deliver me up to the fire, I'm a willingly walk in there. I'm willingly walking into the fire right now because the alternative is to serve somebody else. So I'll take a leave. You feel me? I'll go. So that part. Y'all is good. That's scary, y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's scary though. On the real, that's scary. That's scary. But y'all's plan will prevail. And so here are the two things that he told me at the end. And I'm not gonna be here all night, y'all. I'm not gonna be here all night. But that the three men, right? Let's try this. Azariah, Mishael, and Hananiah. They were protected by Daniel when it was Daniel's test, right? Daniel's test was the interpretation. It was being willing to say, I don't want no glory, I don't want no honor. My God is good. And you know what? Did y'all notice? He said, don't even kill all the magicians. You know who he could have did? Kill all those fake magicians. Yup. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the liars. Yup. Mm-hmm. But magic where? Little gods where? My God gave me killed him. No, he said, don't even kill anybody. Just let them see and let you see that there's one true living God. And he said this. My dad said this. That was Daniel. And Daniel's passing of the test, his boldness, his faith that God would show him what's going on, allowed for the three men to also be protected in his favor. Daniel was given favor. He asked for a favor, and those three men were protected. But see, do you notice Daniel was not in the fire? He was not, I don't even know if he was at that ceremony that was taking place where they were giving those orders, right? And so now each of these other men had to also pass their own test without Daniel. They had to walk through it without the favor. Because even Daniel was like, I don't even want to eat their food. Yeah, let me get vegetables. Let me test me for 10 days, and then we're gonna finish the 3 years. And I'm not gonna eat, I'm not gonna defile my body. Because that goes against my God. He did that for 3 years. And maybe the other three jumped on the train with him, but Daniel was the one that had the courage and the boldness to stand up and said, I from get-go, I don't even want y'all food and y'all wine. I don't want y'all meat and y'all wine. I'm good. So he walked into that test as a primary person. And the other thing was like, I got you, Daniel. But see, now Daniel's gone. And they had to do their own test. They had to speak up for themselves. They had to be on the same page and do the same thing. And let's be real, any of them could have stayed back. As the king said, if y'all change your mind, then we good. But if y'all don't, then the furnace is being turned up as we speak. Right? So I wrote down that they were protected when Daniel passed his test. And they were covered by the favor of that. But they were promoted when they passed their own tests. Let's read that in the Bible. Let's read that, guys. So that's Daniel 3, verse 30. After all this was said and done, right? Came out the fire, don't even smell like it, don't even look like, a lot of people preach on that part. Like they talk about that part. We know that part. And it's still powerful. It's just like, it's not for the headlines, right? But like, yeah, they came out, they were good. God was in the fire with them. God showed himself to be true. He got the glory. Everyone saw God, Yahusha, whoever in there. In there. There was a fourth man in there. And they came in bound. By the time they came out, they were walking around. They weren't bound in there. There's a lot in there. But after all was said and done, and the Nebuchadnezzar was like, "Oh, the God of them, like you already knew, but that's fine. Now we are established again from Daniel to all four of them, single each individual. They all serve the same God, and you should not mess with that same God. So hopefully now we clear, right? But after all was said and done, God got the glory. Yahuwah got the glory, and then it says in verse 30, then." I want y'all to pay attention. Just then, not before, not when they just said I would go for the fire, not when they were walking towards it and people died. They had to go through it. They had to fully commit to it. They had to see it out, even though God already knew. He already knew what he was going to do. They had to walk it out. And then the king promoted them. And so I think a lot of us are waiting for those, like, the destiny transfers, like, like all that was happening, like to get the wealth transfer back and to get this back and that back. But have you fit? Are we at the then part yet? And you would only know that if you're ready to pass your test. Have you passed your test yet? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think many of us are actually at the point where it's like making that decision. Not the ones we made before, not the ones in our heart, not the one where we do it and we complain and we do it and we scared. Have we made the bold decision that if he do or if he don't, what I'm not gonna do is serve another God. What I'm not gonna do is be caught begging for bread. What I'm not gonna do is beg for love. What I'm not gonna do, you know what I'm saying? Is try to appease my family. What I'm not gonna do, whatever the situation is, have you decided boldly what you gonna do so that you can stand firm in that furnace? Because the promotion only comes after that. Then you get promoted. Not a second or not a minute, not an hour before. Not any of your other tests before. It's a new test. It's a new furnace. It's a new fire. It's a new kingdom. It's a new, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all this is new. So that was one of the things. And the last thing was, who is Chicken Scratch? Oh, okay. So, and the portion about Yahuwah knowing for all of us where we are and what's going to happen, and us just having to walk it out. I said, there is no world in which the furnace led to death. Not with Yah. Not with Yah. There is no possibility in which them deciding to stand with God and walk to that furnace ended bad for them. It was never bad. The only decision that would have led to death is if they punked out and said, all right, I don't really believe in this statue, but I'ma just bend at the statue. I ain't gonna fully kneel. I'ma just bend a little bit. That would have been the only decision that led to spiritual death. So just remember that even in our hard decisions, there's no decision in standing on God that actually leads you to death. And I'm talking about the spiritual death. I'm talking about discounted. I'm talking about failed tests that we don't bounce back from easy. So choosing the furnace was always a decision that led to the past test. The only thing that led to real death, the only real fear of death would have been if they stayed. And if they listened to Nebuchadnezzar, and if they feared man, and if they followed idolatry, if they tricked themselves, if they were deceived in their heart and bewitched in their heart that they can somehow serve two masters, that was the only decision that led to death. Because standing on God will never, 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 never lead to your spiritual death. Never. I'm not saying it won't lead to some pain. I'm not saying it will even lead to your physical death. I'm just saying you will never spiritually die when you choose Yahuwah. So that's all I gotta say, y'all. Stand firm in the furnace. I know it's hot. And I know even before you get into the heat of it, as you're looking at the furnace, like as you're like, because I can see it, there's a crowd behind you. And the king's looking like, what you finna do? They're amazed. They're amazed you're even willing to keep walking, and your legs are shaking. You're shaking in your big girl boots, sis, and I feel you. But you walking towards the furnace. You have no idea. You believe that God will save you. You have faith, but if He don't, you still gonna walk over there. If he saves you, but that means you in the ER for the next 3 years. If He saves you, but your face is disconfigured, you still walking towards the furnace, and that's terrifying. But you're doing it. That is the past test. It's the mental. If you can get over the mental, get over the spiritual block, get over the fear. Because again, nothing in this world really matters. Nothing in this, all of this passes away. All of this passes away. It was your decisions. It was your faith. It was your spirit. Where is your faith, sis? What is it in? It cannot be in none of this stuff. Nothing else but Yah. You cannot put your faith in your paycheck, sis. Not your paycheck, not your family, not your friends, nothing, not your kids. Nobody. Nobody's going to save you but Yah. So pass this test. Okay? Because Yah's plan will prevail. And remember, what was his plan the whole time for these people? From Daniel to Azariah. I hope I'm saying it right. All of them got promoted in a land that was not theirs. That's the real tea, right? That's the real tea. They were promoted past the people who were actual citizens of that place. They were promoted as Judeans to the highest courts of Babylon. And they didn't have to lose their soul for that. That was Yah's plan. It was never to hurt them, always to prosper. But it looked like passing through the fire. It looked like a death sentence. So, that's I hope it's encouragement. That's what I got for y'all. And like I said, stick in it, man. Keep going. If you pass out, get back up. If you slow down, keep one step at a time. I don't care if your legs are shaking. I don't care. You keep walking because the alternative is actual death. It's the death that matters, right? So let Yah be the truth and every man be a liar. Time is ticking. Stand firm in the fire. I'm not a rapper, but you know what I'm saying. But all right, I love y'all, and until next time, which tends to be like next month. But until next time, I love y'all. This is Jocelyn with Lover Girls for Christ Ministries. See you next time.